Marcia Adams' Kitchen is made possible by the Fremont Company, makers of Snow Floss and Frank's Kraut, from our family to your family. Vera Bradley Designs, creators of classic quilted cotton luggage, handbags, tableware, and clothing. And the Altrista Consumer Products Company, marketers of a full line of food preservation products, including Ball home canning products.
Hello there and welcome to my kitchen. Today we continue our journey through the Old South and find ourselves once again in New Orleans. Our main dish today is shrimp, chicken, and sausage jambalaya. It falls into the Acadian or Cajun side of Southern cookery. It's a highly seasoned combination made of meats and seafood and frequently includes tomatoes. I've broken this recipe down into 2 steps for your convenience. Here are the ingredients for part 1. 1/2 cup vegetable oil, 1/2 pound chicken breasts, boneless, skinless, and cubed. 1 pound smoked sausage, sliced 1/2 inch thick. 2 garlic cloves, minced. 1 cup chopped onion, 1/2 cup chopped celery, and 1/2 cup chopped green bell pepper. Now earlier we sauteed the chicken and the sausage. The sausage is a little different today. It's andouille, and that is French for sausage, and it's used a great deal in Cajun cookery, and that's what it looks like before it's cooked. Actually, it's chitterlings that's been encased in a casing and then smoked. It's a little hard to find, but it's worth looking for. Now we're going to return these sausages and this chicken over here to this pot where we have earlier sauteed the trinity, the pepper and the onion and the celery and the garlic, which is not of the trinity, but I suppose today we could call that a quartet, a Cajun quartet. And put that in there and stir it up. And now I want to give you the second part of the jambalaya. Here is what you will need. 1 16-ounce can of tomatoes with juice, coarsely chopped or diced. 2 teaspoons dried thyme, 3 medium bay leaves, 1/8 teaspoon ground allspice, 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper, 1/2 teaspoon coarsely ground black pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon ground cumin, a teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of uncooked long grain white rice, 4 cups of chicken stock, and deliciously 1 pound of medium shrimp, shelled and deveined and not cooked. Now we're going to combine all of these ingredients in a deep pot. The wonderful spices, the bay leaf gives this a lovely undertone of flavor, and of course the allspice is a little different and very appropriate. The cumin is good too. Add that, and then we're going to add the rice here, and the tomatoes, which either can be diced or chopped, and 4 cups of chicken broth. And I like to use the defatted kind. It really has quite a bit of flavor. Then stir this all together. And you want to cover this and cook it on medium to medium low for about 25 minutes. Because that's how long you need to cook the rice. Everything else has been cooked pretty much. This is what it looks like when it's all done. Look how that has swelled up, the rice, you see. And all the flavors are melding in there into a delightful melange. You should not stir this during cooking because you'll make the rice mushy, and we certainly don't want to do that. And here is our pound of shrimp. Don't those look good? Now we're going to put them right in on top of the rice and then stir them in very, very gently. And the heat of the rice will actually cook them, and you don't want to spend too much time. You don't want to overdo the shrimp. So we're going to let these cook just for 5 minutes. Now actually this dish can stand a little longer if you so choose, but the rice has finished up the shrimp within 5 minutes. There we are. Put the lid back on. That's very important. Don't take it off. This is a 1-dish meal. Add some corn muffins and you'll have a real feast. It's a more complex country dish than many country offerings, but it's typical country food from this part of the United States. This is very similar to gumbo, which we prepared earlier, but the main difference is that jambalaya is cooked with the rice. Gumbo is served over the rice and it's cooked uncovered. This is always cooked with the lid on, and don't stir it while it's cooking, as I mentioned. Now, when we discuss the cookery of New Orleans, we hear a lot about beignets, the rectangular powdered donut that's traditionally served with café au lait. And the good place to go for that is the Café du Monde in the French market. But another fritter, which I find more interesting, is the calas, C-A-L-A-S. The name is brought to us from Africa, and it is the African word for rice. Now, this is a very delicate yellow cake-like fritter, very subtle and nice, and the unexpected texture of the rice makes it very unusual. Here are the ingredients. Peanut oil for frying, a generous amount. 2 cups of cold cooked rice. 3 eggs, well beaten. 1/4 teaspoon vanilla. 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg. 1/2 cup sugar. 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. 3/4 teaspoon of salt. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And for garnish, confectioner's sugar for dusting. First of all, you heat the oil to 375 degrees. I like to use a French fryer, but if you have a deep skillet or saucepan, you could do that. The reason I like the French fryer is that I can control the temperature. And this has been heating for about 15 minutes because you want it absolutely the right temperature when you put in the fritters. Then, in a large bowl, we have 3 beaten eggs, and I'm going to froth them up a bit. And to that, we're going to add the cold cooked rice. Rice is raised in Louisiana. In fact, huge amounts of rice in Louisiana, and it's always been a staple of the diet in that state and the neighboring states as well. Some vanilla, all right, and grated vanilla, nutmeg today. That will be lovely and pungent. Then mix that all together. And don't use your German rice recipe from Heirloom Recipes in this because it won't work. Just use a plain white rice. Then we're going to combine the sugar with the flour. It's almost equal amounts, as you notice, but it has 2 tablespoons more. That's going to give the body to the fritter. And then we have here the other things, including the 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And you need that so those fritters will fluff up. It is absolutely a delightful, delightful dish. Now whisk this together and add this to your rice mixture. And Leah Chase was telling me that she was so pleased that we were going to do this recipe on the show because she said it's a traditional New Orleans dish. And it used to be sold every Sunday morning, these fritters, warm fritters, every Sunday morning, and the churchgoers would stop and buy a sack of calas to take home to eat, or they would eat them on the way. So there, this is all mixed up. And now we're ready to begin the frying. And this is what we're going to do. First of all, you want to use a scant tablespoon. It's very important that you do not add too many fritters or too many anythings to the pot. Now, I see that I'm going to have to change this around here a little bit, people. I'm going to use this scraper because if you add too much at one time, it chills down the fat. You don't want that. So just put in less than you think that you should and put them in here and then let them cook in the hot fat for about 2 minutes, 1 minute on each side. Now you're going to have some very irregularly shaped fritters, and that's okay because that's Mother Nature at work, and you just sort of have to be tolerant and work with her. That includes fritters and hairstyles and, you know, all that kind of stuff, kids. Okay, there we have it. Now we're going to let those cook for about an hour on each. An hour? For heaven's sakes, get with it, Marcia. We're going to let these cook for about a minute on each side and then turn them with the tongs. They're not at all ready to turn yet. Well, that's getting there. That's getting there. That's a dinky little one. I prefer a bigger one if I were buying these on a street corner myself. Here we come. Here we come. These are the traditional old foods that I really care about recording for you to have so you can make them at home. I must get 2 or 3 letters a week that say, "Dear Marcia, thank you so much for the recipe for et cetera, et cetera. I have been looking for that recipe for 25 years. My mother used to make it and she didn't write down the recipe." Write down your family recipes. That's terribly important. Okay, now let's see how this little rascal's doing here. Very good. This would make a very good breakfast dish on Saturday morning when you have a little extra time.